All right. Well, thank you for joining us for our Insights EDU Echo series. Today, we are going to be talking about evolving your marketing approach in the new era. A few housekeeping things for us to get out of the way initially. One, we are recording this presentation. We will email out the link and a copy of the presentation as well as the webinar later on today or tomorrow morning. So if you have questions on specific slides, know that you will be getting these afterwards. And if you have any other questions, please always feel free to reach out to Sarah or myself. Want to just give for our new attendees a quick introduction and overview of how Education Dynamics is really thinking about the moment that we are in right now with modern higher education, and really the importance of the two parallels here with reputation and having a strong brand. Sarah's going to talk a lot about some of the changes happening in the marketplace and the importance of reputation to really fuel revenue and drive growth, and making sure that there is that operational excellence and expertise across all of the marketing and enrollment management functions. Also, just want to talk a little bit about Eddie's proven approach really generates results. We see for our partners on average a 22% application growth. We see a 30% reduction in cost per start, and overall a 47% average 5-year enrollment growth that is faster than industry norms. And so it's really important to think about that whole revenue and reputation combination to fuel results. And so this is the fifth, we have one more of our Insights EDU Echo webinar series. That QR code on your screen will allow you to go to the page to sign up and to see some of the past presentations as well. And so you can get all of the great content that we focused on at our Insights EDU conference and in a digestible format for you. And with that, I am going to turn it over to Sarah Russell. She is our remarkable Vice President of Marketing here at Education Dynamics, and she is going to walk you through a whole bunch of information today. Take it away, Sarah.
Thank you so much, Tracy, and thank you everyone for joining us today. I'm really excited to dive into this topic because I know it's on the minds of many of us in higher education. How do we evolve our strategies to meet the needs of the modern learner? As we all know, the digital landscape is changing faster than ever, from search engine algorithm updates to shifting user behavior, and it can feel like a constant challenge to keep our marketing strategies both relevant and effective. But as noisy and uncertain as this moment is, it also presents us with a really incredible opportunity to adapt and grow, especially when we embrace the power of some of these emerging technologies like artificial intelligence. So in this session, I'm going to explore how our current AI-powered marketing landscape is transforming everything from SEO to full funnel marketing strategies. And I will share practical tips and techniques for future-proofing your SEO efforts and creating a marketing strategy that resonates with prospective students at every stage of their journey. As we begin, I want to start with an important observation. We truly are at a turning point right now in education marketing. The ways that students engage with schools and the ways in which we connect with these students is undergoing a major transformation. As the channels where they seek out information, the tools they use to reach schools and the tools schools use to reach them, and the role of branding in decision-making have all evolved, really driven by shifts in technology, behavior, and student expectations. So looking at these three components a bit more closely, first, how prospective students seek out and then value information is shifting. Today's students are more self-directed in their search for education than what we've seen over the last 10 to 15 years. They are not waiting for institutions to reach out to them. They're actively researching programs across multiple platforms, and that includes search engines as well as social media and AI-driven tools. Next, AI is changing how advertisers reach students, and that is redefining best practices and reshaping digital marketing as a whole. AI-driven platforms analyze behavior in real time, which allows us to optimize ad placements, messaging, and bidding strategies automatically. So marketers must shift their focus from manual campaign management to a more strategic and data-informed approach. And then finally, the role of brand in your marketing is now more important than ever. With the increasing use of AI and automation, it's easy to focus purely on performance-driven metrics, but branding remains essential. Students are not just choosing a program, they're choosing an institution that aligns with their values, their career goals, and their lifestyle. So a strong brand differentiates institutions in a crowded market, builds trust, and improves conversion rates across all marketing efforts. All of these factors are not future shifts that we're expecting. This is happening right now. And if we don't evolve our strategies to meet the expectations of the modern learner, we risk falling behind. So as we navigate this new era, success will depend on how well we adapt to these changes, meeting students where they are, and strengthening your brand. Diving in a little bit deeper, let's look at how the behaviors of prospective students have evolved. Their research habits, decision-making criteria, and engagement preferences look very different today than they did just a few years ago. And a specific example of this increasing complexity in the journey is a trend we're seeing with search behavior. Almost 60% of searches now end without a click, meaning students are finding what they need directly in the search results or not finding it at all, largely ever without clicking through to a school's website during that session. This zero-click behavior really forces us to re-examine how we are connecting with prospective students. If they aren't clicking through a search result to get to your website, how are you optimizing your content as well as your overall online presence to connect with students and make an impact? Google is moving toward making their search results even richer with more informative results that aim to provide everything a student needs on the results page itself. And this can look like AI overviews that summarize information. It can look like prioritization of video and image results, and generally just making it less appealing for prospective students to exit the search engine results page and visit a large, unwieldy website that could be difficult to navigate and try to sift through a large amount of information and content to find what they're looking for. This shift away from engaging with traditional search results and lists of links becomes increasingly important when you look at how quickly AI is transforming the search experience. So across all industries, over 35% of Google searches generate an AI overview. And that's a number which is climbing really rapidly. I think this is probably the third time that I've presented this particular slide publicly, and the numbers have to get updated every time because it's changing so quickly. But the education industry is seeing one of the highest frequencies of AI-generated overviews at 46% of all EDU searches returning an AI overview. Because these AI overviews for higher ed searches most often appear on long-tailed or complex search queries that are more indicative of a research mindset than a decision mindset, their prevalence within EDU search results really reflects the unique nature of prospective student search queries. Unlike, say, the healthcare industry, which is currently leading all industries in terms of AI overview prevalence, EDU searches are often very detailed and multifaceted, and they're seeking a lot of information across the spectrum rather than just a straightforward answer. So a user searching for health-related queries might be asking, do I need to see a doctor if my fever is 104 degrees? Or what does the chickenpox look like? Those kinds of queries come with pretty straightforward answers, but a prospective student in the EDU search funnel is likely searching for more nuanced questions like, is it worthwhile to get an MBA? Or how can I pay for school? So the high incidence of AI overviews across both industries with a very broad spectrum of search query intents is very interesting. And to me, this signals a broader shift in how audiences interact with content online. With this growth in AI overviews, as well as the rise of ChatGPT and other chatbot-powered experiences, we can expect the search journey and how students engage in it to continue evolving. So this transformation will see a shift toward straightforward answers served up on a personalized basis and curated links rather than an endless list of websites to scroll through. This is especially clear for anyone who's been able to experience Google's AI Mode beta, which was released a couple of weeks ago. This beta, which likely represents what a search experience will look like for everyone in the future, is like a combination of AI overviews and Google Gemini. The experience is more honed, more curated, and more personalized for a specific user. It provides answers and information and further topics to explore rather than just links to websites. Now, this doesn't make your website any less relevant in the decision journey for a modern learner. Quite the opposite, actually, but it does make the challenge of how to drive prospective students to your website or to get them to engage in your content much more complex. Because optimizing your website experience is no longer just about driving more traffic and clicks on your listings. It becomes increasingly important to consider how your brand content is surfaced across a variety of experiences. Your website, AI overviews, videos, and other brand experiences, both within that search engine results page as well as across other sources on the web. Another massive shift in student behavior that is necessitating a re-examination of your strategy is the transformation we've seen in how students begin their search journey. Over the last 10 years, where we previously saw a majority of prospective students beginning their search with program keywords, that has shifted significantly to branded keywords as the initial search query in a prospective student's journey. And I cannot stress enough how important this data point is when reflecting on your marketing strategy and how you allocate your budget and resources across brand media and performance media. A decade ago, we were able to leverage search marketing as an initial touch point to enter a prospective student's consideration set. But now they're starting their journey with a brand search. So if you aren't in their consideration set at that point, you're not going to get there at all. For an industry that is heavily leaned into performance media, this shift in student behavior really changes the game. And the brand shift is not the only place where we're seeing evolution in student behavior. Another area where we're seeing rapid shifts is where and how prospective students are leveraging social media. Increasingly, we're seeing this population using social platforms as search engines in and of themselves. Platforms like Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok are emerging as key channels for prospective students to research specific schools, explore student experiences, and actively learn more about brands in a way that feels authentic and engaging. And while it's not called out specifically as a social platform in this data set, this is also behavior we see prospective students taking within YouTube as well. YouTube is the second largest search engine in the world, and it's really a go-to resource for students looking for campus tours, program deep dives, day in the life content from current students, etc. And increasingly, this kind of content is driving decision-making for prospective students. So these numbers highlight a massive shift in student behavior, and social media isn't just for entertainment anymore. It's a critical part of how students explore and evaluate their options. The way students engage with social content is deeply personal in a way that generally search hasn't been. And they expect to see real, relatable insights that help them envision what their experience at a school will look like. So beyond just having the program that they're looking for, students want to feel like they belong at your school. They want to see a diverse set of student experiences and perspectives. They want to hear success stories from your alumni, and they want to understand what makes your school's culture unique. Social media is a very visual and engaging and video dominated medium. So that provides the opportunity to create that emotional connection and sense of belonging in a very resonant way. Now, increasingly, users are seeking out short form video content to learn about brands. And this shift is being driven by changing digital consumption habits, particularly among younger audiences. They expect quick, engaging, and easily digestible information. So platforms like TikTok and Instagram Reels and YouTube Shorts have really fundamentally altered how users interact with content. They're prioritizing video content that grabs attention instantly and delivers the value that they expect in mere seconds. So for schools, this means rethinking how to effectively bring your brand story to life, capture attention, and engage with prospective students in 30 seconds or 15 seconds or even fewer. Traditional long form promotional videos or static content is not going to perform the way it used to without this shorter form content as well. Institutions need to embrace a new way of storytelling, one that is concise, compelling, and really tailored to this digital space in our current digital moment. This means that highlighting your student life, faculty expertise, career outcomes, and the unique aspects of your institution in a way that feels really authentic in this mode that students want to consume information and content in. The key is to create content that feels personal and real and something that prospective students can see themselves partaking in. So it's clear that as student behavior continues to evolve, higher education marketing is likewise needing to evolve at a rapid pace. Traditional strategies that worked just a few years ago are no longer enough to meet the expectations of today's students. So I want to break down 3 key areas where we're seeing the biggest shifts and where I recommend marketing teams really ensure that they're aligned around their strategies going forward. Number 1, website marketing strategies must evolve. No matter how your students discover it, your website is the front door to your institution, and it continues to be hugely important. But students are using search engines, social media platforms, and AI-powered tools to explore their options. So your content is going to be served up to them across different experiences and platforms, not just your website anymore. So it's important that you're investing in content across the board and that you're also ensuring that you have a strong grasp on how your brand is presented in social media, how your SEO strategies are future focused to ensure you're optimizing your website for AI modes, etc., and that you're also investing in your user experience. So when students are navigating to your website, you're making it truly easy and streamlined for them to find what they're looking for. Number 2, AI is transforming paid media optimization. The way we optimize paid media has fundamentally changed with AI. Outdated methods of manual bidding and highly segmented targeting have given way to machine learning models that are going to adjust in real time, maximizing performance in a way that can handle so many audience signals that humans just can't process. So these AI-powered strategies allow us to move beyond really simple keyword targeting and focus on intent-based, audience-driven marketing that ensures our budgets are being used really effectively to reach the right students. And finally, the role of your brand is more important than ever. With automation driving many performance marketing decisions, it's easy to lose sight of the human element in marketing. But the truth is, brand matters so much. Students are making high consideration decisions, and trust plays a really significant role in their choices. And as we just talked about, students are increasingly starting their search journey with brand terms. And at the same time, the search experience is becoming more complex to optimize for. So in this landscape, institutions that differentiate themselves with strong, authentic messaging and reinforce that messaging across every touch point will stand out in a crowded and competitive landscape. And to succeed in this modern era, institutions must embrace all of these changes and how they're really redefining our approaches. Let's talk in a bit more depth about what each of these facets can look like. First up, optimizing your website presence and how that needs to evolve. The search landscape has never been stable for that long, and algorithm updates are a way of life for anyone who's worked in SEO or website marketing for the last 20 years. But I think it's really interesting to look at a timeline of Google's algorithm updates. Where we previously saw significant updates every 3 to 5 years, we've seen a ton of acceleration since the mid-2010s. And what was once a relatively stable environment has now become a rapidly shifting one, where updates are frequent, they're impactful, and they're often unpredictable. And even more than the increasing frequency, the updates are also increasing in complexity, making it more challenging for institutions to maintain visibility and discoverability within the organic search ecosystem. And looking ahead, as we know, we can expect AI to play an even greater role in search. So the key takeaway here is that SEO is no longer about trying to game the system. It's really about aligning with Google's long-term vision of what the search experience is going to look like and how we optimize to deliver high quality and user-focused experiences. And of course, a changing algorithm impact on how content is ranked is not the only component of a shifting search experience for prospective students. We also see that visual changes in the SERP have an impact on how students perceive and interact with your brand. So as an example, let's hop in our time machines and take it back to 1999. I had just gotten my braces off. We were all scared of the Blair Witch Project, and Google looked like this. It was a very different search experience. I especially like that there are less than 15,000 results for the keyword travel. That would return millions of results today. So the optimization game looked very different. Obviously, today it's vastly changed and vastly more complex. Even before the advent of AI overviews, we had a significant amount of complexity in these search results. But in the last year, we've seen huge shifts in what prospective students are served when they search. We've got the AI overview. We also have Reddit, Quora, those types of forum-based sites increasingly gaining search share. And we're seeing video content and social media profiles get ranked really highly in a lot of cases. So what is important when you're optimizing your website in this landscape? First, strong content drives AI overviews. Gaining a foothold in these AI-driven summaries and responses requires strategic content creation for these featured positions. Also, first-person expertise wins. Personal experiences, user-generated content, that's all going to create really authentic engagement that resonates with users. And search engines reward that. So you need to make sure that you have at least an understanding of how your brand is reflected in those places, and definitely try to take a driver's seat in creating that authentic content. Next, we know that rich media is really going to boost your click-through rate. So leveraging videos, leveraging images really strategically to enhance user engagement, it's definitely going to be key to really own your brand presence in the way the SERPs look today. And then finally, that leads into brand visibility. You really want to take advantage of how the search engine results have evolved and what is being served up when you're doing searches for branded terms and non-branded terms. How do you own more of that real estate across different experiences? So yes, your website optimization is crucial, but don't overlook its role in your overall brand visibility in the SERP alongside other branded touch points like YouTube, social media, and user-generated sources. Because SEO in 2025 is interconnected. The Google search engine results page is now made up of a multitude of offsite and on-site sources. So your optimization strategy needs to be crafted around influencing all of those sources. If you're only focused on straightforward on-page SEO or even just content creation that only lives on your website without taking into consideration the entirety of your online brand presence, you won't be successful. So I really like to think about this interconnected world in 4 categories. First, traditional search engine optimization is still the foundation. Please don't ignore that. But that's not the only lever that you have to pull anymore. It still needs to be locked up with your technical SEO, your on-page optimization, before you can build on that with the more advanced strategies. From there, user-focused content creation is going to boost engagement, traffic, and conversions. And this includes blog content and articles, but it also needs to include videos, graphics, social content, really thinking about what content can look like in different formats. Next, user journey optimization is really going to focus on how do you develop a data-driven strategy that optimizes the path to conversion, identify content gaps, usability roadblocks, ongoing A/B testing plans, all things that are really going to drive your prospective student to take an action and connect with you. And finally, brand amplification brings it all together. You really want to strengthen your brand through strategic link building, content promotion, social boosting, local profile optimization, even PR outreach and engagement in certain forums and user-based discussions. Those are all touch points that are going to amplify the content that you're creating and the user journey that you're optimizing. So as your website marketing strategies need to evolve, it's also important that your paid media approach is being looked at as well. It's probably in need of a glow up. The paid media space is evolving just as rapidly as organic search, and no surprises here, that's powered by our old friend AI. A really key shift that we're seeing in the paid media world is how advertisers are reaching and connecting with students. So remember, students are increasingly beginning their search with their consideration set already solidified, and they're searching first for those brands. And you have to shift your media strategy to earn a connection with those students before that point. As prospective students are leaning into more video consumption to learn about brands, it's crucial to respond with more video-heavy ad placements throughout the funnel. So here you can see that video-based ad placements are growing really rapidly, especially among short form and vertical formats. And this growth reflects a strategic shift toward building brand awareness, generating interest, and nurturing audiences early in the customer journey, rather than focusing budget allocation so heavily on lead generating channels. So this increase in video impressions really highlights a growing recognition among education advertisers that you really need to build that engagement early, and then that will cash out and pay out for you with your long-term success. It is true that the performance impact of these upper funnel strategies is so much harder to measure than where you maybe have historically felt more comfortable with performance marketing, but investing in these visually engaging audience-first formats like YouTube Shorts or Reels or Stories can effectively capture attention and foster interest among your prospective students so that when they do start their search journey with brand, you're in that set. We're also seeing an evolution in paid search investment across advertisers, and that really reflects a shift in strategy as well. Increasingly, more budget allocation is being directed towards Performance Max or PMax campaigns and branded terms, while non-brand keywords are seeing some year-over-year declines in investment. PMax campaigns are a prime example of how automation is really redefining the paid search channel. These campaigns leverage Google's AI to target users across platforms within the Google space: YouTube, display, search, discover, Gmail. And this clearly aligns with how prospective students are shifting their online behavior into more brand-first searches and multimedia brand touchpoints. But this pivot may also shine some light into shifting advertiser priorities. It suggests an increased focus on performance efficiency and maximizing overall inquiry volume rather than budgeting by or managing to really granular program-specific goals where you might have been investing more in these non-brand keywords. The broader trend at work here is the need to balance efficiency with scale. This move towards the efficiency of PMax really underscores the performance gains that can be achieved by pulling away from the high segmentation and granular levels of control to drive inquiry volume for specific programs or segments that really dictated paid search optimization of years past. In a PMax world, you should spend more time strategizing about the inputs that inform Google's AI instead of looking for optimization levers that you can directly control, like program-specific budgets or granular campaign structure and manual keyword bids. In order to drive both quality and scale with an AI-powered campaign type like PMax, the more data you can give the AI, the better it can optimize. And the more information you can feed it about quality, the greater impact you will see on driving enrollment volume rather than just high lead volume that doesn't persist. So there is definitely a path forward in these campaigns to quality and enrollment, but it comes at the cost of kind of taking your hands off of some of the specific controls over where and how your ads serve and what specific programs you're pushing. And Google's push into PMax and other AI-powered campaign types is really a marker of the larger shift we're seeing in this industry, which is a shift from these highly precise and specific marketing strategies to broader AI-based optimization. Just a few years ago, managing paid media campaigns was a much more manual process. And it included a lot of setting and maintaining specific bids for individual keywords and individual match types of the same keyword, creating a unique ad to serve with every keyword. So advertisers had a lot more control, but we were also spending a majority of our time managing these very granular components of a media campaign. Today, Google, Meta, and other advertising platforms have become much more automated in bidding and creative optimization. And as a result, our jobs as advertisers have shifted to be less about making highly individualized campaign adjustments and more about how to set the right parameters to allow the AI to drive the best results. What kind of data is being fed into the bidding algorithm, for example, or how does strategy shift to better optimize for apps and enrollments over inquiries based on this algorithmic bidding? The old way of structuring and optimizing paid media campaigns doesn't translate into this new world of automation. So one thing I always try to impress upon advertisers in this space is that over-segmentation is the enemy of AI optimization because the algorithm needs large amounts of data to optimize and enough quality signals to scale effectively and drive enrollments. You're not going to reach that critical mass of data if you've built your campaign structure around really outdated segmentation. That's just going to chop up your data into smaller pieces and make it more difficult for the algorithm to optimize. So as the landscape has shifted in the paid media space, advertisers must do the same. And this means optimizing and future-proofing your paid media approach by finding opportunities for that campaign consolidation, finding areas where you can move away from unnecessary segmentation. It's also really about leveraging audience data to power these effective automation strategies. So making sure that you're informing the algorithm about what leads are going to convert best to enrollments and enrollments into starts. And all of that is really going to drive the individual levers of paid media optimization rather than you as a media buyer getting in there and doing those things yourself. So with all of this disruption across marketing channels, it can be really challenging to know how to reach prospective students effectively. And when they're more often initiating their search journey with brand, we have to enter the consideration set much sooner, which means putting an emphasis on storytelling with your brand across channels. As we've seen, students are seeking you out across a variety of experiences, including social media, forums, chatbots. And because of this, optimization has moved beyond the search engine results. And alongside this, targeting in the paid media space has become more general, as we've talked about, moving away from program-specific targeting and into broader campaigns. So with all of these shifts in mind, a strong brand is really crucial to resonating with prospective students across those channels. And the focus today should be on authenticity, being real and consistent across every touch point, whether that's on social media, in the search engine results page, in an ad, or a conversation with a prospective student. Because higher education is currently grappling with a significant perception challenge. Many prospective students view institutions as outdated or ill-equipped to meet the evolving needs of modern learners. And this has created a pressing need for colleges and universities to not only demonstrate their relevance, but also actively reshape the narrative around higher education's value. And that continues to become more and more difficult as there's larger noise in the space about the Department of Education, some of the changing landscape for what it means as institutions to show up for students. But within all of that, it's really key for schools to think about how to create meaningful personal messaging that's going to connect with prospective students on a deeper level. The goal is to humanize your brand by telling stories that resonate and building emotional bonds that are going to inspire prospective students. And over the last decade, higher education as an industry has really leaned heavily into performance media. But this strategy is kind of unsustainable today in the marketing reality that we're facing. Education advertisers now need to start strategically increasing their investment in upper funnel placements and video ad formats. And that really needs to signal a shift into how we think about balancing budgets across brand and performance media. And identifying that right mix can be a challenge, especially when we've conditioned ourselves and our teams or our agencies to a performance marketing model, really focusing intensely on short-term, immediately measurable results like inquiry conversions and cost per inquiry. But expecting those kinds of instant results from brand building efforts is not realistic or sustainable for what you're trying to build with this holistic marketing approach. So it's important to remember that students don't make enrollment decisions overnight. They need multiple touch points over several months or longer with an institution to feel confident making an enrollment decision. They're not buying a pair of shoes, they're making a really life-changing decision. And knowing this, that needs to drive how we think about allocating our marketing dollars. So how do you strike that balance of allocation between brand and performance? Of course, the answer is it depends. And there's not going to be a magic number that's going to be applicable or appropriate for every institution or every situation, because it's hugely dependent on your existing brand equity, your larger marketing strategy, your enrollment goals, and a million other factors. But as a guiding principle for the higher ed sector, I have found that it's generally effective to think about investing somewhere between 20 and 30% of your media budget into brand marketing and 65 to 80-ish% in performance marketing. The specific number itself is not as important as embracing a testing mentality to your budget allocation. And with this testing approach, it's really crucial to hold your nerve because you're not going to be able to generate an effective return on your brand investment if you're turning it off after 3 months. Think of it as a multi-year investment, and it needs to be measured in terms of a holistic cost per enrollment. Your brand media investment will drive gains in your website performance, your Stealth app volume, and the overall effectiveness of your marketing budget. But it's going to be an indirect measurement and one that you have to give enough time to fully mature. So I'd like to close by bringing us back to this slide. The higher education marketing landscape is evolving very rapidly. The way that students search for information, the way that information is served up to them, how they engage with content and make enrollment decisions is fundamentally different than it was even a few years ago. And embracing this shift means rethinking key elements of your marketing strategy that have to evolve as we enter this new era. So, number one, website marketing strategies must evolve to align with the expectations and behaviors of today's prospective students, as well as with a changing search landscape. Number two, AI is reshaping media placement and optimization. So you need to structure and optimize your campaigns in line with that. And number three, authentic brand engagement will be the differentiating factor for many students in their decision making. So embracing how you talk about and present your brand across channels is hugely important as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Sarah. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to share those in the chat or in the Q&A. And thank you for sharing so much great information and all of your expertise with us, Sarah. And it looks like we have one question so far. What are you seeing right now with the impact of some of the AI search results?
Yes, that is extremely, extremely interesting to watch. And our web marketing team is really connected to that dynamic and how it's shifting to make sure that our strategies are evolving to keep pace with those changes, and set our partners up for success. Because what worked in an environment where you were searching for a keyword and that pulled up a list of websites and you just wanted to be in a certain position in that list, that whole script is kind of flipped, because now you need to optimize your website and your content when it's become an experience of serving up a personalized answer and a very curated list of resources to an individual searcher. So the emphasis on relevant content remains really high, but the tactics for surfacing that content are really what's evolving. Largely, I think in the past, we saw website optimization and content marketing strategies being largely centered around blog content and articles. And that emphasis really shifts to continue to do that, but also encompass a wider variety of content formats and a wider variety of branded sources across the web. So that includes your social media profiles, YouTube pages, forum sites, etc. So optimizing your website is still hugely critical. I don't like it when I hear people start shouting about how SEO is dead or Google is dead. I don't believe that in any way, but I think it's evolving to look very different, and we need to keep pace with that with our strategy of the reality of how students are consuming information.
It's wild, wild world right now. Another question, can you expand on your definition of providing authentic messaging?
Yes, and I think that is a really good question to think about in terms of where that content will be experienced. So whenever I'm talking to schools and brands about authenticity, when you are in a social media space, put as much emphasis on as possible on surfacing and amplifying student stories, alumni stories, faculty. So your brand is really amplifying that message versus trying to be a super corporate, every message comes through your branded space. I think that's especially important in places like Reddit and Quora and some of these forum sites that we've talked about gaining a lot of share in the organic space. Is those communities are very important to the people who are in them, and they often will have a negative reaction if there's a brand trying to represent themselves in a very transparent way. So how you enter that conversation, I think, needs to be more about building up your brand ambassadorship with your current and former students, and being able to build your community to amplify that message than necessarily defaulting to every single message comes from your brand directly.
Absolutely. We have another question. My ed tech is a small team, and I am the only one tasked with marketing. What should I prioritize?
That I'm sure is very overwhelming. I feel overwhelmed with a large team kind of helping to support me. So being the only person driving this, you really do have to prioritize pretty ruthlessly. I would say as much as you can, try to emphasize the things that will drive the most value. And for me, that's going to be your website optimization and the really high return paid media channels like paid search, specifically paid social, and really leveraging that to drive both awareness and lead generation.
Absolutely. Another question. How do smaller institutions and training providers with less brand recognition compete with traditional higher ed that have more brand power? Could programs from smaller schools that deliver work or job placement outcomes be competitive, as that seems to be a strong desired value as well? This person absolutely has listened to our 3 Cs and was a part of the Modern Learner presentation. You can
Yes.
tell.
As I was listening to that, I was definitely thinking of cost, convenience, and career outcomes. Like those are the things that are important to the modern learner and to prospective students today. And so it is important for you to be able to position even yourself as a smaller brand in your ability to deliver those outcomes to prospective students.
Great. Well, that looks like all for questions for today. Thank you, everyone, for taking time out of your day to join us. We will have the presentation and the recording out either later today or tomorrow morning. And thank you, Sarah, so much for sharing your expertise with us. It always learn something every time we get to talk to you. So have a good afternoon, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.